Samsung is one of the global frontrunners and drivers when it comes to creative innovation. By embracing the world of immersive technologies such as NFTs and launching products in the Metaverse, Samsung is a real pioneer in this field. The popularity of these topics this evening is through the roof and couldn't be left out. While spearheading immersive media across the globe, this all-round entrepreneur has been at the helm of virtual reality entrepreneurship since 2014. He will show you just how gaming, AR, and VR are fast becoming the go-to gateway to the Metaverse. Invented and powered by Samsung. Please welcome on stage co-founder and managing partner of Yonder, Pieter Van Leugenhagen.
Hello Antwerp, so good to see you and so good to be here live on stage. First of all, thank you to the people of Sync and Samsung for hosting me. It's a real honor and congrats with the festival, it looks amazing. My first slide should be voila. We are going to talk about the Metaverse tonight. I will give you a brief introduction. I could talk about this for hours and hours, but I only have 25 minutes, so we need to get this party started. So this will be a short introduction about the Metaverse and why this will be very important for you as a future entrepreneur, or very important for your career. Why am I up here? First of all, this is me. This is how I look in the Metaverse. Since we're talking about the Metaverse, I wanted to present myself as well, how I look in the Metaverse. So if we bump into each other in the next weeks, months, or hopefully not years, but months or weeks, then you know how to find me. Why it's me up here? We are pioneering VR and AR for the last 7-8 years with Yonder. It has been a very bumpy ride, but I will talk about that later a bit more. But we still don't have mainstream adoption, but thanks to somebody in Silicon Valley, suddenly we are sexy again, working in XR industry. Also more about that later. There is a small delay. In short about Yonder, who we are. So Yonder is an immersive media agency producing experiential content. We believe that the future of content production is immersive, like you see here with the projection mapping VR experience we did for the Port of Antwerp. Immersive, interactive, and three-dimensional, an AR experience we did for Club Rouge. And we built virtual worlds, so our service offering consists of VR, AR, digital and metaverse experiences. But the hype of VR, like I already explained, we've been around for almost 8 years now. It has been a very bumpy ride, but it is not the first hype of VR. It's been, since decades, scientists are experiencing with the technology of VR to search for an alternative existence, being in another place, using virtual reality, but the technology was never ready for it. I always try to, I think the closest they came towards a mainstream product was Nintendo in the 90s, with the successor of the Game Boy. The Virtual Boy should have been the successor of the Game Boy, which was the pocket console of Nintendo, but it didn't even make it across the ocean and was pulled out of the market after 6 months, again, because technology wasn't ready for it. Nowadays, technology is getting much more ready for it. And I always try to talk about the Metaverse using the Gartner hype cycle, or the XR industry in general. This is probably most of you guys have heard of Gartner. It's an American research bureau. and they have a graphical representation of the market introduction of emerging technology. If you think about emerging technology, think about in the past computer, tablets, phones, smartphones, now IoT, blockchain, virtual humans, AI, and so on. Those are all emerging technologies. And they mostly take this hype cycle before they go to mainstream adoption. The hype cycle has 5 stages. The first stage is the technology trigger. There's always a sparker that triggers the technology. Then we have the peak of inflated expectations and go all the way down through the trough of disillusionment to take the slope of enlightenment towards the plateau of productivity, which is the 5th stage. And if we talk about, that's too early. If we talk about the technology trigger of this new cycle of virtual and augmented reality, it's definitely the successful Kickstarter campaign of Oculus. Oculus is the mother brand of the new generations of VR headsets. The founder, Palmer Luckey, it's his real name, Palmer Luckey, he launched the Kickstarter campaign in 2012, and he wanted to raise $100,000. And he accidentally raised, with crowdfunding, 2.5 million, and that's the moment when the technology, that the industry exploited, when all the big technology brands, the tech giants, start looking at each other like, hey, wow, this is something, we see a big demand of the consumers, and this has not been pushed by the suppliers. So there is a clear demand by consumers, so this must be something. And finally, the technology could be ready to create a viable VR product. And then we went up to the peak of inflated expectations, and that's also the moment, 2014, when Zuckerberg and Facebook acquired Palmer Luckey's company for $2.2 billion. So Palmer, who was very lucky, became a millionaire at the age of 20 or 21. And that's also the moment that we started with our business Yonder. We saw the internet was popping up with terms like 360 video. VR and AR are the next big thing. And we were already in digital content production, so we thought like, hey, let's explore this field and maybe we should start a business. And we did. And then the phone was literally ringing day and night. We had so much business. We were the only, one of the first in Belgium, the Netherlands, and even in the world that was creating branded VR content. So, of course, to be honest, they all had to call to us because there was no one else. But to give you an example, we did a virtual test drive in VR for Seat, Volvo, Honda, Mercedes. We did brand experiences those days for Nike, New Balance, Adidas. So all the big brands, they just wanted to do something with VR. Until the end of 2016, 2017, when they all started to look to each other like, what's in this more than just a marketing gimmick? It was just a marketing gimmick because there was no clear business value. The technology still wasn't not ready for real business applications. There were too many frictions, and there was no consumer market, so no mass adoption. So brands could not go and explore this field. So we went all the way down to the trough of disillusionment. In 1.5 years, we grew towards, I guess, 9 or 10 full-time employees. So we had to let go of 4 because we couldn't pay them anymore. We couldn't pay ourselves anymore as 3 founders. So it was a very hard time. But then we picked up the business with more business solutions, and we survived, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And then the pandemic hit us in 2020. That's the moment, that's the turning point, in my opinion, when the market was attracting more new customers. Because why? If you think about the use cases of virtual reality, VR takes you places. If you think, I want to be there, but I cannot be there in real life, VR can bring you there. Is it a gamified environment? As a real human being, you cannot go into a gamified environment. Is it an unsafe place? VR can take you there. Geographical limitations? VR can take you there. Exclusivity? Be on stage with your favorite rock band? VR can take you there. So all of a sudden, the pandemic hit us. We were not allowed anymore to travel. We were not allowed anymore to see each other and to collaborate with each other at the office, at school, and so on. So there was a big, a very interesting point for us. Because we had the capacities and the capabilities in-house to build virtual worlds. And then I also remember the very interesting keynote of Mark Zuckerberg. It's not that I'm a good friend of Mark Zuckerberg, but he just did a lot of things for our business. So I have to mention him a couple times more, this keynote. In 2016 at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, Mark Zuckerberg told the audience that he had or he believed that VR had the potential to become the most social platform ever. And that was very strange, especially that day, because if you put on a VR headset, especially that day, in those days, it was a very social experience. You were alone in your headset doing your things in your headset, but it was a very social experience. But throughout the years, since 2016 until 2020, the social VR platforms kept on developing. Social VR means that you are in a virtual world or a virtual environment together with other avatars with who you could interact or can talk or yeah, just have hanging around, play around, whatever. So we saw the crisis as a huge catalyst for the VR industry and the XR industry in general. And as the banking crisis was a major milestone for the fintech startups, 2008, 2009, COVID-19 will probably be for the VR, AR, and the Metaverse industry, because we saw a huge demand for people who wanted to be together but were not allowed to be together. So social VR came along, got a huge boost, and suddenly the technology was hot again. Very interesting. And for us as well, because all of a sudden we were building virtual worlds, we were hosting virtual events, we were becoming an event company in the metaverse, but we were not event organizers, but we had to organize events. People, or a lot of companies, especially in the US, were purchasing headsets, 100, 150 for all their employees. We were building worlds, never seen anybody in real life. This is VR collaboration software that we were implementing. This is, for example, a trade show that we did for the European Commission. We did one for the Flemish government as well. So we developed all these worlds for all brands that had the huge need to connect with their audience. We're now even building Roblox worlds. So those examples are all the results of the pandemic, in my opinion. And then, yeah, what is the metaverse? It's actually, yeah, we have seen a lot of buzzwords in the past. If you think about emerging technology, many buzzwords that have surfed the hype cycle in the past. But a lot of them come together in the metaverse, in the promise of the metaverse. And if you think about the metaverse and think about Web3, so we were talking about earlier, Lauren was talking about Samsung and Samsung NFTs and Web3 and Metaverse. Web3 and Metaverse are not the same thing. Web3 is more about who will possess or control your data in the next iteration of the internet, where the Metaverse is more how you will experience the internet in the future, the three-dimensionalization of the internet. That's something different. And you can build a metaverse on a decentralized accommodation, but you can also have a centralized metaverse. I'm not sure if Mark Zuckerberg will be willing to decentralize Facebook, because that's completely against his business model these days. But the technology stack of the metaverse, the promise of the metaverse, would be or should be a decentralized metaverse. There we have IoT for data input, we have AI for smart apps, virtual humans, language processing. We have cloud for the storage, because if you want to have smaller devices, we need storage in the cloud, and also the computing power needs to be in the cloud. We have blockchain then for security and for virtual goods, think NFTs. Then VR and AR are basically just a display to enter the metaverse, and 5G we need for the connectivity and the speed of the internet. So those things are all coming together in the metaverse. But okay, what is the metaverse? And who is better positioned to explain what it is than the guy, not my best friend, but a guy who is putting 10 billion years and putting his whole future, changing his company from social media company towards the metaverse company. Mr.
Today,
Mark.
we're going to talk about the metaverse. I want to share what we imagine is possible.
Yeah.
The experiences you'll have, the creative economy we'll all build, and the technology that needs to be invented, as well as how we're going to all do this together.
We're here!
The next platform and medium will be even more immersive.
Like a shop.
Some call it skill.
Keep talking.
An embodied internet where you're in the experience, not just looking at it. And we call this the metaverse.
So it's an embodied version of the internet where you're not just looking at it, not scrolling, but where you're actually in it. The way he presents it, we are still, I think, 5 to 10 years minimum, 10 years away from that, especially the AR holographic stuff. That's far away, but there is a lot happening already today. So it's new virtual worlds to explore, and digital layers overlaying the old one. VR and AR. Smart strategy if you're betting on hardware and software at the same time. But what are the basic principles of the metaverse? Yeah, who am I to argue? If somebody tells us this, who is investing 10 billion a year in this metaverse thing, then yeah, he must have something that he's working on. But what are the basic principles of the metaverse? The first principle is actually that it should be accessible across different computing platforms. So it's not only VR or AR focused. It should be accessible through your smartphone, through your tablet, through your PC, or through your laptop, and also VR and AR, of course. The sense of presence is very important. The fact that you have the feeling that you're actually there, that you can interact and talk with other people, represented by an avatar, and that you can buy virtual goods. Virtual goods, think virtual clothing, virtual shades, virtual artwork for in your virtual house, virtual land, that you own all those pieces. And then the interoperability, that's the biggest promise, I guess. The fact that you can, for example, everybody knows Fortnite and Roblox, I guess, that you can buy a shirt for your avatar in Fortnite and take it to Roblox and wear the same shirt. That's the interoperability and the teleportation that you're talking about, but that's something that we're not yet and maybe will never be. There's the question, is this going to happen? Yes, absolutely, but how this will happen, that's something that we can control ourselves, I guess. Do we want to jump on the bandwagon of the big tech? Do we want to create decentralized metaverse? That's something that we can decide. Will this be dystopian or utopian? Will we all go in 20, 30 years, escape in the virtual world because our own universe is not funny or sexy anymore and we want to just be in a virtual world? Or will it be utopian and will this create chances for us? Will we be able to start our own business, meet new people, have new experiences that we would never have or had if there was no metaverse? That's interesting, and it's sci-fi, and sci-fi is happening. It happened before, it happened many times before. The older people in the room probably remember the Knight Rider, self-driving car, AI-driven, voice commands. Those things are happening today. When I was young, I was a big fan of the Power Rangers, and me and my brothers, we were playing the Power Rangers outside, and they had the ability to video call. That was huge, that was crazy. In the 90s, video call with their watch, that was crazy. So sci-fi happens all the time, and it's happening again. And a virtual world, like I already said, brings a lot of opportunities because it needs a virtual business, a virtual car, a virtual house, virtual clothing. So if you think about the business opportunities, it's going to be huge. And where are we today? What's happening today already? I will give you some overview or some examples from the things that are already happening today. For example, Fortnite. It is a mini metaverse. There won't be one big metaverse, but different multiverses or miniverses connected to each other. That's the promise, at least. But for example, Fortnite and Balenciaga, they're doing a collab. You see the billboards in real life. You see the billboards in the game. You can buy the hoodie in real life, and you can buy the hoodie in the game. They are blending physical and virtual worlds together. And in my opinion, it's an onboarding towards, and it's a very interesting opportunity for fashion brands because it's where their audience is if they want to go on with their legacy as a fashion brand. Then, for example, this is very interesting for me personally, watching live sports, live entertainment in VR together with your friends, again, together with your friends. This is a video from 2 years ago from Adam Levine and Jonah Hill, I guess it's his name. They're watching a basketball game from the Lakers together courtside. If you're at home with your best friend on your couch, you probably won't do this. But for example, I have a good friend living in Houston. We're both basketball fans. If we would be able to do this together, this is already happening in the US, not in Belgium, of course, but it's already happening in the US. You can go in a private skybox together with somebody else living on the other side of the world, sipping on a beer on your couch, but have the feeling that you're actually together with each other. This is also a huge opportunity. Again, the sense of presence, the feeling that you're actually there with somebody else. This is something that we've done over the past years a lot, implement virtual collaboration software for companies who are all in for remote and hybrid work, and they just want to look for the best possible solutions. This is an example of Glue, but there are many other platforms that are doing this. It's very good because you have the feeling that you're in a three-dimensional space. You have the 3D audio, the spatial audio. If somebody is standing on your right, you hear them more here, and on your left, more here, like in real life. If somebody is 5 meters away, you hear them in less, and if you go closer, then you hear them better. You have Drive integration, PowerPoint or Microsoft integration. It works very good. So those are also mini metaverses. You have the sense of presence. You can connect with other people. You can dress your avatar. You can build your own spaces. And then Accenture, I'm not going to elaborate a lot on this because Nick will probably talk about this as well. They are here, and I'm a big fan of Accenture because they are doing this. They created many digital twins for collaboration, and they created a huge world, virtual world for social gatherings, to connect their remote workforce, for onboarding, and even for client meetings. So it's amazing, but probably Nick will tell more about this, but I'm a huge fan of the idea. And then we go, those were all centralized platforms. So Microsoft Altspace, the platform that Accenture is building on is a collaboration with Microsoft, it's Altspace. Glue is a company, it's centralized. You have Horizon Workrooms from Facebook. That's a collaboration software. Horizon Worlds, that's the platform of Meta. It's also centralized. And then we have the decentralized platforms. For example, the Sandbox. It's built on the Ethereum blockchain. People who are into crypto probably know the Sandcoin. So Sandbox is a scale-up company, already raised 90 million, sold millions of virtual land. And it's a world where you can build and own and monetize your gaming experience, more or less something like Roblox, but on the blockchain. And you can, Adidas, for example, Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton, they have their mentions on the Sandbox. And then we have Decentraland, for example. Samsung took the opportunity to launch their new products, the new Galaxy S22 phone and the Tab 8, and that they launched in Decentraland. Again, it's a platform on the blockchain, and we see many brands launching virtual goods on those blockchain platforms and monetize like crazy on those virtual goods. We see Gucci selling shades, so sunglasses. We saw Dior and Hermes selling handtassen, how you call it in English? Purses, yeah, of course, purses. And Decentraland for crazy amount of money. So a lot is happening over there as well. And about those tablets and about NFTs, people are more and more using these tablets to create their NFTs, to create their virtual fashion. And talking about virtual fashion, this is one of the biggest success stories in virtual fashion, Artifact. It's written like RTFKT, Artifact. And they became now part of the Nike family. They got acquired by Nike. They were the biggest virtual fashion agency on the planet, famous for their virtual sneakers in AR, in the Roblox platforms, on the blockchain platforms. So they got acquired by Nike. Very interesting as well. But what is missing these days? Again, what is missing? We are totally not there yet in Zuckerberg's vision, totally not. What is missing? The interoperability. We all discussed separate planets in the universe or in the metaverse, but there is no connection between those planets. Like I said, you are not able to take your purse from Dior or Hermes to another virtual world. It's impossible today. So that's missing. What else is missing? Computing power. If we saw the envisioning of Zuckerberg, his metaverse, according to the CEO of Intel, we need 1,000 times the computing power than what's available today. So we're definitely not there yet, although Facebook is working on a supercomputer, which they will launch this summer, they told. What else is missing? Dedication. We see many companies already adopting the idea of the metaverse, and they hire or appoint chief metaverses. We see Nike, Gucci, Ralph Lauren in fashion, of course, because they have a huge opportunity to sell virtual goods as well. Disney and media. And then, for example, our own Tomorrowland in Belgium, they recently appointed Philippe Ben Mohamed as the chief metaverse or head of metaverse for the future entrepreneurs here in this room. Very interesting position in my opinion. What else is missing? Grown-ups. If we take a look at the platforms like, for example, Roblox, the user statistics of last year, they have 200 million monthly active users, 50 million daily active users, but 84% of the users are under the age of 25. So that's a lot. And they spend an average of 2.6 hours a day. And when I read this first, I was completely flabbergasted about the fact that, what, 2.6 hours? But then if I think back, when I was young, when I was a teenager, what did we do with my friends? We went on MSN. We started chatting with our friends. We started sharing files with each other. Yeah, we started sharing voice messages, playing mini games. That's exactly what those kids are doing on Roblox. They are just hanging out together, playing games, buying some virtual stuff with the Robux, with the coin I have. These are images of Nike Land, which is like the best use case in my opinion on Roblox. So actually it's more or less the same that what we did, only through the evolution of the internet and the three-dimensionalization of the internet. So what are the biggest opportunity for brands? Because if you have 50 million daily active users under the age of 25, then there is a huge opportunity to reach that audience. So go where your audience goes is a basic marketing principle. It's been there since marketing exists, I guess. So go where your audience goes. If your audience is there in those platforms, you need to be there. And if you think about the gaming industry, which Roblox and all those metaverse platforms are basically, because those are games, mini-verses, potentially be together the metaverse. The gaming industry is bigger than the music and the film industry combined. That's maybe something that some people don't know, but the gaming industry is way bigger than the music and the film industry combined. And 80% of the Gen Zs and Gen Ys are playing games. It could be once a month, once a week, every day. A hardcore gamer, they play games and they spend money in games. 70% are spending money in games. And 84% of that generation thinks that, which is crazy in my opinion, but it is a fact. It's an Accenture study. 84% thinks video games help to meet new people and to stay in touch with your friends. So that's happening. If it's good or bad, I don't know. I have my own opinion, but it's happening and it's an opportunity for brands to be there. Okay, sure, but what if Gen Z is not your target audience? Then they will be in a few years, because soon they will be the biggest group of consumers with the biggest budget to spend. And it's the first group of consumers that grew up completely digital. So I am a Gen Y, probably trapped in a Gen Z's body, because I feel a lot of similarities with that generation. But they are the first generation that grew up completely in the virtual or in the digital era. We had the before internet time, I had the before internet, and then the post internet era in my life. And if they're not your consumers or your potential consumers, they will probably be, like we are here tonight, your potential audience to recruit. And in terms of employer branding, could also be a big opportunity to be there in the metaverse already today. So all technology, we're almost there, all technology was born in the imagination of somebody. And to finalize the presentation, I would like to end with some crazy dance moves of Bill Gates. Microsoft, for example, or Bill Gates, he predicted, for example, the smart speakers, the smart home speakers. He predicted the huge screens in cars with GPS integration, but they are no market leader at all in those fields. Same could happen with Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg is envisioning his idea of the metaverse, and he's investing billions and billions of dollars, almost $1 billion a month, in shaping the metaverse. But is he going to make it? If we think about the fact that gaming is the gateway to the metaverse, then Microsoft is way, way, way ahead, and Meta is way behind. Early this year, I guess, I think, or the end of last year, Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard, which was one of the biggest gaming franchises in the world. And now they are in the top 3 of gaming publishers in the world. Meta is nowhere in the top 10, nowhere around. So if gaming is the gateway towards the metaverse, then Microsoft is obviously winning. And mainstream adoption of emerging technology always goes through enterprise solutions. Nobody was working with a laptop or with a personal computer before he worked with a computer at work and experienced the advantages of a computer, for example. So it always goes through enterprise solutions. So probably VR will be adopted first at your work for collaboration, for product development, and so on. And also over there, Meta is nowhere in the professional industry. In contrary, they are battling against lawsuit after lawsuit on privacy regulations, and Microsoft is winning in that field as well for decades. So But yeah, of course, Bill Gates predicted those things like the smartphone, and he couldn't execute the winning strategy. So to give you an advice, if you still want to be relevant in 10 years' time as a brand or as a company or as a consultant or as a future entrepreneur, start looking into this field because it's happening and it's happening fast. Start experimenting today because otherwise you will be left behind. And thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pieter, for joining us tonight. Since the topics you talked about are so popular, I can imagine there will be a lot of burning questions from the audience. So if you have a question for Pieter, please raise your hand and then someone from the Sync team will come to you with a microphone. Can we have a bit more light? There I see the question.
Yes, thank you very much. A very interesting presentation. Thank you very much. My question is, how can I get an AR platform or AR module for my mobile application? How can I get it really fast and really cheap? Thank you.
I don't know.
Fast and cheap.
We are very expensive, I'm sorry.
I'm sure.
And you don't need an app for your AR application, it's web AR.
No. I have an app already,
these days.
but I want to integrate augmented reality into my mobile application.
Ah, okay.
But how can I do that very easily and cheaply? And so that is very important, and do it fast.
Yeah.
So,
fast and cheap.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't help you, I'm afraid.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Like I said, we are very expensive, so.
Oh my, thanks a lot, sir.
Sorry.
I might be very rich, who knows?
Me? Very
Yes,
rich? No.
I don't know.
Have you seen the bumpy ride we've been through?
Yes, exactly. I just don't want to give my money so easily, you know. The first rule of business is don't waste your money.
All right.
Okay, thanks
Do
a
we
lot.
have another question for Pieter? There in the middle. I see. The microphone is getting passed along. Yes.
Yes, hi. I was just wondering, you started off with talking about how it could be used in the business scene, so to talk with colleagues, and then you went to gaming, that it is now only interesting for gaming. But how long do you think it will take before it's affordable for businesses to be incorporated in the metaverse?
That's already happening today.
Yes, but it's very, very expensive. It's only for the
It's
top.
not at all. It's not that expensive. It's totally not expensive. You buy a headset for $350. How much does a tablet cost? Or how much does a laptop cost? Or a smartphone? It's also expensive. It's just a matter of what do you do with your VR headset. If you use it on a regular base, daily base, to connect with your clients and customers and colleagues all over the world, then it's not an expensive device, in my opinion. It's just the fact, what are you doing with it? And that's the biggest issue these days, the viable use cases to the clumsy headsets. But it's not only VR, the metaverse. It's also accessible through PC, laptop, tablets, and smartphones. So it could be easy to start, and very expensive as well. If you want to if you want to build your own virtual environment, like a virtual park, yeah, like for example, what Accenture did, of course, that comes at a price. It's many man-hours, so that comes with a price. But if you just start up with tailor-made environments that you can just take out of a library, then you're up and running for €400.
All right, we have time for one final question. I see someone jumping there. The microphone is coming your way.
Thank you. So you mentioned that Facebook is working on a supercomputer with 1,000 times more computing power. Can you tell us more about that technology and how it works?
No.
Where can I find more information about that?
I hope online, and they will launch it this summer, they told the media. So I'm not a technologist, so
Very interesting.
I'm the business guy. So
Okay. Is it related to quantum computing by any chance?
yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, me too.
If anybody else can answer that question in the audience, let me know.
All right. Thank you so much, Pieter, for
Thank you.
joining us tonight. Give him a big round of
Thank you.
applause.